Hey, everybody, I'm Larry Little.
And I'm Melissa Jackson.
And we are glad you're here for RelationShifts, those little shifts that make a difference. And we are in it. We are in it to win it. We are in the middle of bracket season.
Yes, we are there. And now it is time. It's time to do your brackets. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do this year. You know, Robin, our producer, she did two. She did, kind of this AI, and then she did her heart. I'm trying to figure out which way I'm going to go.
I'm going to project that you fill out more than one, because I think I'm going to fill out. But here's what I think we ought to do. Last year, we sent out one to our team and people, but I think we can take it to another level this year. And let's put Robin in charge of the brackets.
Okay.
Let's let her help us decide, who to send them to, keep up with it in terms of who's winning, so we'll know how to get in and
our
check.
Our team, or are we going to extend this to
if you're listening,
our listeners?
Yeah,
what do you
think? You want to join us in a bracket?
Join us.
You email us.
Join us.
Email us at Robin Brzezinski at TECeagle.com.
She's loving this right now.
this won't make it. She just fell off her chair.
She is a camel.
I just gave her email to everybody.
We will be talking about camels today, and we will talk about things not to do, although we do them. So
right, and although we do them. So anyway, bracket season is here. It's going to be fun. I love March Madness. I love it. And so we're talking about that right now. We're talking about, we always know a great basketball team has to be a great defensive team. They have to play defense well. And if you don't play defense well, you don't win. However, if you look at that from a personality standpoint, what happens when our personality, in this case, the camel, what happens when they get kind of threatened, or are you in a relationship with that camel? What does that look like, and how can we best help our camels? How can we understand our camels? If we are a camel, how do we understand ourselves so that we don't become defensive, but instead we help to understand how to speak the language of others? That's kind of where we're headed today, right? We're gonna do the camel today.
Yes, we are. And this personality pattern, I think, can bring so much insight. And I think the topic of today is probably one of the hardest for the personalities. For the camel, some personalities can deal with chaos and messiness and all those relational things that happen, but some, it's harder because of their strengths, who they are, because things they can have things buttoned up and tightened up and in order, and they bring that order. And so these relational concepts can be a little harder because it goes against those natural characteristics.
Yeah, here's the thing, Melissa. When we have these strengths as camels and we overuse them, they become our weakness.
For all of us.
For everybody.
Every person.
Everybody.
Yeah.
But today, as we talk about camels, we're going to look at some things that they might default to, and we're going to challenge them to shift to a different behavior, to shift to a different way of looking. I'm excited about this
shifts.
one. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Little
I think
shifts.
it's good stuff, what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, because some of the pieces can come across as feeling kind of like criticism, where,
negative.
Can be a little negative, can, kind of cause people to avoid those camels. So let's get some little checks on those pieces.
It's interesting because we know that our camel personality, one of the things they struggle with, and we all have this to some degree, but they really struggle with anxiety. They overthink. They're overthinkers.
They can internalize things.
They do.
Because they want to say the right things. They want to respond the right way, and they can and do a beautiful job at that. But then the flip side of that is they can over-process things internally, which can produce anxiety. They can, think too much about how somebody will respond at every angle, and all of those pieces that can generate, this consternation internally.
So don't believe us. Look at some stats, and data tells us that 70% of people who overthink, that there's people who spin and overthink, report feeling anxiety every day on a daily basis. Can you imagine? I mean, that's a hard place to be. If I overthink and if I really start, I call it spinning, it causes anxiety. So, that's uncomfortable. And, you think about how much do they really overthink? Well, data tells us again that they spend an average of 55% of their waking hours. Wow, 55% of waking hours reflecting or overthinking.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility. And it's a lot of weight on their shoulders if they're reflecting on their response, which, I mean, we need to reflect on our responses. We need that. But the camels have that tendency to reflect so much that it can cause, them to internalize. It can cause them to maybe not interact and engage the way that they want to with others, because there's all of that reflection going on. Too much reflection. Too much overthinking.
And here's some data that's powerful as you keep thinking about this. Data says that 7 out of 10 breakups, 70%, 7 out of 10 of breakups are caused by the way, not what, but the way people talk to each other, the way couples talk to each other. Think about that.
And you might can apply friendships to that as well.
Yeah. You can friendships at work. Think about work relationships, but think about how we say our tone and understand, because here's the thing, camels don't, I'm totally convinced that many times it's not that they mean to have a mean tone or a tone that's off, a negative tone. I think it's that they just don't think about that. That's not one thing they're spinning on. They're not spinning on the tone.
We call it prickly. We call it that it comes across prickly. Yeah. It comes across as there is not thought into the delivery. There is thought into the content.
Right.
And a lot of thought into the correctness of the content, or the factuality. Is that a word? Factuality? The facts of the content. But, the piece is maybe not a lot of thought into how I communicate this, what my face is saying, what my tone of voice is saying, what my word choice is saying. And so that the person that's receiving that, a lot of times that is the message that they're getting. They're getting the message from the person's face, not necessarily the words.
It's the perception. It's a perception. So important.
It is a perception.
We know this is a deal. We know it's important, and it's reported in relationships, whether personally or professionally, that we understand, and we give. And if you're a camel listening, we're going to give you some tools to help. And if you're not a camel listening, we want you to understand a bit about why you may be experiencing some of this and why it's coming across that way.
Yeah, because a camel. We all either know a camel or we are one. So let's talk about some shifts that can take place. Let's talk about what can that look like, because there is this strength that these camels bring to a relationship, and they're so needed in that relationship. It's super important to have that stability and that person who can be consistent, and that person who can bring, just this anchor to, if it's work, if it's home, wherever it may be.
All right, look, I'm going to do one we hadn't talked about, because it's we're talking and I'm thinking and we're kind of looking through to really give some good ideas. I think when you're with a camel and they become the fun police. Have you ever experienced that? So if you're gonna play a game, some of us may kind of just make it up as we go. I'm known to do that, and just kind of, hey, it's all about, let's just have fun. I used to play what's called Larry golf, and Larry golf is, you kick the ball, you get another shot. It's about out there getting better and learning, but it's not, you don't have to. Because I'm never going to play professional golf. It never occurred to me that I should have to obey all the rules.
That is so funny.
But, it drives camels insane. No, that's not the rule. You must play by it. Well, they take all the fun out of it.
The fun police, I have never heard that or thought about that. But as soon as you said that, I identified with that.
So just an awareness piece that camels could be fun police, and we have to understand that. And the reason is, for them, it's about doing things right. If you're going to do something, do it right. If you're going to play right. That's their thought process. So
my family, they always like to joke and laugh that I make up my own verses to songs.
And you do. And I'll verify that.
They just think that's so funny. And I'm just like, what's so fun about that? I mean, I don't understand, but now I'm understanding. So here we go. Let's talk about some shifts, because little shifts make a big difference. And so this is super important.
All right, here we go.
So let's hit the road with this. So the first one is shifting from planning for control to planning for connection. So instead of planning to have everything in order and have everything just so, have everything lined up, have everything just right, even though that sounds so good. I really like that. That sounds so good. But
is it realistic? Is it real? And I think
playing for connection.
I think this is so powerful, Camels. If we could change the mindset from control to connection, it sends such an incredible. So it's not about saying, look, I know you have a problem. Here's the solution to your problem. Here's how we're going to get there. I've thought it all through. Well, that sounds good. Think about what the other person feels like. It takes total connection away. Instead, if you were to say something like, hey, this is a problem, but we're here together. Let's brainstorm about what we can do. Let's try to find a way to work. You still have answers in your head, Camel. You got it. You know it's there. You got ideas and things you know are going to work. It's not about that. It's about choosing not to present all that and bringing someone else into the conversation.
That's good. See, right now, I'm wondering if the Camels can hear this, the planning for control. They may have, they heard that statement and they are right now analyzing, is he saying I'm a controller, and they might not have even heard connection. So it might be we could change that word. So planning for control, maybe it's planning for efficiency, or maybe it's planning for quality, or maybe it's planning for, something like that.
Well,
so instead of planning for that, planning for, because that is so natural for the Camel.
It is. And Melissa, you know me, Robin knows me. I'm not one for political correctness. They're control freaks sometimes, and they gotta realize that and we all have stuff. We all have our stuff. I don't know how else to say that. Camels can be control freaks, and they've got to work on letting some of that control. You don't have to be in control of every stinking thing. You don't have to be in control all the time. Try letting it go. Let someone else be. It's amazing how the difference in the relationship, not the task. So I need you, Camels, thinking about the reason this is. So you're shifting from being in control of the task, right, to connecting through the relationship, and watch that relationship grow. And that's one point.
And truly, Camels are so good at tasking. They're so good at efficiency and quality. And so what I'm hearing you say, I'm trying to think like a camel, because I really want these camels to hear this.
Right, good. You're softening me up. Thank you.
They're so good at that they don't have to spend energy there.
You go.
Where do they need to spend energy? That's like breathing for them. So instead of working so hard there, spend energy in a place that might, take more energy for them. And that's in the connection. How can they spend some time thinking about the connection piece, the relational piece, the relationship?
All right. Give me another shift, Melissa.
Okay. So the next shift is to shift from, stay with me on this one, because this is going to be good. We got to break it down, but shift from fact-weaponizing. It's a really strong word, to fact integrating. And this is really good, because Camels enjoy facts. I mean, they're good at facts. They can remember facts. They're just so good at that. And in our world, we call it the fact checker, the fact checker.
Yep,
they can check facts because they're so good at facts. So this says the fact weaponizing. So let's break that down. What do you mean?
Yes. So it's about defending yourself with data. If I can defend myself and bring enough data to the table, then I must be right. And it's using my facts as weapons against you. In other words, I'm proving myself to be right, and that means you have to be wrong.
Okay.
So it's a win-lose.
Sometimes data, we're not looking at the right data. The data is factual, but it's not the complete picture of data that we need in order to we might be looking at the wrong data.
Right.
Sometimes Camels, we might get in such a mode that we're looking at data and it's factual data, but we need that data and this data. So, being able to kind of pull back from that and think about, how do I get out of fact checking and data driven, and how do I make sure I'm integrating, I'm connecting.
And that integrating means bringing someone along with you. So here's the thing. I told someone this one time, and I really believe it. You can be right as rain in this relationship. You can be so right, and you lose the relationship.
That is so good. Say that again.
What have you gained?
Say it again.
You can be right as rain. You can be so right, but lose the relationship. What have you won? And you've won nothing. And instead of saying,
really lost.
You've lost.
Yeah.
And you can be right and alone.
Yeah.
And I think it's saying your need to be heard is more important than my need to be right. Your need to engage in me, to hear, and I want to bring it. So look, I care about you. So let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spit data at you and prove you wrong.
Yeah.
My goal is not to prove you wrong.
So time out real quick. So, how that is so natural for Camel. So how do they check themselves to when that's happening, when that's going on, how can they put the brakes on? How can they slow that cycle down? How can they slow that process
and we're
down?
talking about defense. Every personality has something they need to work on, right? A defense mechanism. Right. Camels default to fact. So it's no different than any other personality. They're not better. They're not worse. It's the same. We have to choose to discipline ourselves not to allow our emotions to drive our behavior. In other words, if I feel it or think it from a logical standpoint, I think I'm just logically, there's a discipline there that says I'm going to stop that train. And you may say, well, I don't feel like connecting. It's not about what you feel. I'm going to choose to say, I care about you. So let's work through this together versus here are the facts to prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm. So literally they're having to kind of shift their brain too, because their brain thinks in facts and logic. And so they're really having to shift their brain over to a relational side. And it may look like they get into a conversation and they start explaining themselves.
Right. Oh, they will. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Explaining themselves.
But here's the thing. If you can get Camels to think of it like this, I think we really have a shot at doing this. It's the right way to have a relationship. There's a right way to have a relationship and a wrong way to have a relationship. The wrong way is to try to weaponize data and prove someone wrong and use that. The right way is to walk with them and bring them in and not spew all the data, even if you know you're right. So if I can frame it for my Camel friends as, look, you live in a black and white world, so the right way to do this is to think about what is the right way to have a relationship. It's about including, it's about not giving the facts, not fact checking, realizing that a relationship is more important than being right.
And you're really redefining your right way.
Yeah, you are.
You have to really redefine that
word. Yep.
in order to be able to operate out of this being the new right way.
Yeah, because nobody likes to be corrected. So you move, even if you're dead wrong, you know this person you're in a professional relationship with, or they are wrong. They're like they're telling you something that is clearly erroneous. If you, instead of correcting them, it's so much more powerful if you say, I may not be understanding all this clearly where you're coming from. Help me to know. And I learned to ask good questions. I learned to become a coach. I learned to say, let's walk together. So if I'm a coach, I'm walking with them. I'm not dictating. I'm not declaring a verdict. And that is super hard for Camels. But if they can changed from I don't need to correct him, I don't need to correct her, I need to coach.
Maybe that's a bow. Maybe we reframe it to, let's get out of correcting mode. Let's truly remove ourselves out of that. Because when you correct, you do create this hierarchy on some level. And so relationally, because someone's right and the other person is wrong, so to speak. So you move from that to coaching so you can keep the conversation open and you can be mindful that you may or may not have it right. I can give myself room to know I may have it right, I may not. So if I go into listening and asking questions, then I'm moving myself from this corrector to this coach. Let's go to the next shift. So shift from, because this one Camels are like, yes, this they're going to be able to identify this one super easy as soon as I say it. And that's shift from analysis paralysis to deciding with 70%. Now they don't like this, but they can identify. They can truly identify.
It's so important. And as an entrepreneur, for me, it's so important. If I had to have 100% of the data in front of me, 100% proof, I would never make any decisions.
Who gets that?
Who gets it? Nobody.
Gets it? Yeah.
We have to make decisions in our business. You and I have done this for years. Make decisions based on sometimes 60%, sometimes 70%. Camels have to let themselves be okay. And here's why they don't like that. They hate the unknown. Yeah. They hate uncertainty. They hate it. So they're uncomfortable with it. So they're going to have, it's not really about 70%. It's about being uncomfortable with uncertainty.
That's a great point that you're making right now. It isn't about having all the information. It's about fearing the unknown. And those are two different things.
Yeah, that's right.
So if a camel can recognize, I don't like not knowing the future. I don't like not knowing, what the next steps are, the next plan is. And so if they could spend their energy on on, I don't like that, and I have to figure out how to deal with my fear versus trying to get more data. It could actually give them a little more control, because they're able to truly know where the issue's coming from.
And move forward and choose to move forward in uncertainty.
Yeah.
Move forward in that 70%. It's going to be okay. Sometimes, you have a 70% chance of succeeding, let's say even. And so, you know what? If you hit that 30 and fail, you're not going to fail the next time or the next. Or you get up and you keep trying. You have to be okay, which is really hard for camels. You have to be okay with failing. You have to be okay with, I didn't get that. Let me get back up and try again. But if we wait for 100% of certainty, that never happens. None of us have that anyway, really.
Not at all.
So we have to be willing to move forward.
Yeah. And then this last one, we were just talking about it a minute ago, but just shift from over-explaining to attuned to listening, which those are two different things. Over-explaining to attuned to listening. And the over-explaining piece, I think that comes from the camel wanting the other person to understand them. They're wanting to be clear.
Yeah.
They're wanting to have clarity in a conversation. They're wanting something. And so they can get in this mode where they begin to over-explain themselves. You call it building the clock.
Yeah, it's like what time is it? Well, let me tell you how to build a watch. So first, there are springs inside, or I'm like, I don't need to know. For the love of all that's good, tell me what time it is. I need to move.
Yeah. Another example may be, they're building a spreadsheet and something's wrong in this cell or two cells. They've got to go back and look at every formula in that spreadsheet. They're actually going to have to go back and look at the spreadsheet that, is leading into this spread. It causes them to have to go and overlook,
and it stops progress. It stops what you miss. You get so caught up in over explaining. Now, the reason they over explain, and the reason we go back and look at all those cells in the spreadsheet, is because competency is key to camels. They've got to be competent. So therefore, if something, and so in order for them to be competent, they got to make sure you understand that they understand many times, and they want you to hear all the details, because they think they think the details are important to them. So if they care about you, they want you to know that. So you're going to have to adjust. Some of this we have to give a little grace and let them tell us. My wife is a camel. And I think some of the most powerful times that I've had with her is when I could just sit and let her tell her details and listen to those details. And then my face say, I'm listening to your details. And, it's really hard. It's really hard because I really don't care. But I should care. I mean, I want to care. I want to hear her details. You have been doing
attuned listening. Attuned listening. You're attuning the listening piece. Which, just what you're saying about that, listening can cause the other person to feel cared for, to feel valued, to feel like, they're important, all those things that, are significant in a relationship. And so this attuned listening is not just listening with your ears, it's listening with your face, listening with your body language, and how are you interacting and engaging that person.
Camel friends, we love you, and we are so thankful for you. We got to have our camels. They're amazing people.
Must have camels.
These are just some things to think about, because we want to encourage you to get out of your comfort zone a bit and engage and improve and build strong, healthy relationships with those you care about. Just so these shifts are not criticizing our camels. We're not criticizing. We're not saying you're wrong. We're just saying, here are some tips. Here are some ways that, Melissa, take us through the ways one more time for our camels, and we'll wrap this thing up. But I want them to know this is not criticism, camels. We're just giving you some shifts to help you to have more successful and powerful relationships in your life.
Yeah, so let me hit these real quick. Shift from planning for quality or efficiency control, or to planning for connection. Shift from fact-weaponizing to fact-integrating, correcting to coaching. Shift from analysis paralysis to deciding with 70%, and shift from over-explaining to attuned listening.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yep. Good stuff for us all. But now it's time, because the camels would be very, very upset if we did not stay with the protocol and
would
share.
they be upset? I think they would be okay.
Police. I don't know. They might not.
Think they'd be
But
okay.
we've got to do it. It's the dad joke time. It's time for the dad. I know somebody just told me this week how much they look forward to my dad jokes, and they actually told me a dad.
Was it your dad?
It could have been. No, I don't think it was. And how they listen for that. So, and you can actually, by the way, hear this dad joke. Sometimes I've learned our team will put our dad joke out on social media. Is that right, Robin? Sometimes we may find it out on somewhere, Facebook or wherever, Instagram. I don't know. You ready? Today is going to be different, guys. Today we have a double dad joke day. And Melissa, you're going to participate.
How can we be so lucky?
You're going to look. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to share one.
Okay.
Then you're going to share one to close us out. I got yours right here that you're going to read for us. Okay. All right. Mine is this. Okay. It's pretty obvious that if you run in front of a moving car, you're going to get tired. It's pretty obvious. If you run in front of a moving car, you're going to get tired. But if you run behind it, do you just get exhausted?
That's a good one. I like it. The camels like that one.
Yeah, camels like that one.
That.
Now, what I want you to do is just read this as we close our dad joke time. I'm handing it to her now. She's reading
one?
the gray.
Okay.
Read the gray. Okay, here we go.
Okay. I don't mean to brag, but cashiers are always checking me out.
Yes, they are, Melissa. Yes, they are. Every time you go to a cashier,
this is where I turn
out.
into a camel, and I'm just like,
hey guys, thank you so much for.
And I'm not.
Thank you for joining us. That was a lot of fun. I hope that the content was helpful today. I hope you had some nuggets that will help you.
Do your bracket.
Do your bracket. Make sure you get that bracket done. We'll be doing ours. We'll be sharing with you in our next podcast or so what the results were. We're excited about this season. Do your bracket. Stay away from those cashiers that check you out, get you in trouble. We appreciate you being with us. Thank you for making those little shifts that make a difference in your relationships. We'll see you next time.
Little shifts that make a big difference. RelationShifts. Little shifts that make a big difference.